Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin O. Powers. I'm also the owner-operator of Something Wicked Entertainment Events, and welcome to our program today. Now, if you've been with our program for as long as we've been in operations, which is now almost 2 years, you will realize that what we try to do is we take one individual horror film from any genre, subgenre, any decade, any of that, and then we discuss it, analyze it, dissect it, bit by bit to kind of get to the meat and potatoes of whether or not the film is any good or not, or if it is a bad movie, why it's a bad movie, or a guilty pleasure type of movie. Now, that being said, every episode has a different guest host with it, and our guest host today is Dave Watkins, who we want to thank for joining us again.
Thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to be here again.
It's great to have you on the show, especially when we are celebrating the 4th of July. And what better film to kind of dissect and critique on the 4th of July than William Lustig's Uncle Sam? Oh, do we remember what year this is from, Dave? I don't have that on my...
That's 1996.
Yeah, because I remember it was in the 90s, but I couldn't remember the exact date. Because this is...
So July 4th is American Independence Day. Just in case everybody remembers that.
Oh, Jesus.
It's funny the way it's like kind of known for 4th of July, but then it's like, wait a minute, what is it exactly?
Well, the thing about this movie is it was coming towards the end of William Lustig's cycle. He did a lot of films in the 70s, 80s, and towards the end of the 90s, he was doing less movies. And unfortunately for us, I think this is one of his last movies, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look that up.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely later in his filmography.
Yeah, and so it's not nearly as good as some of his other films. But before we get to all that, we're going to go to the plot of this one because I know there's a lot of people out there who has not seen this film, but I do want to get kind of your original impressions on the movie. Did you see it when it first came out, or did you see it recently?
Yeah. So I didn't see it when it first came out. That 1996, I think. During that time point, I guess I was kind of checked out of movies for a little while during that time in my life, I think. But it was it didn't appeal to me very much either when I first saw the look of it. But I did see it for the first time, I think last year, maybe the year before that. But I think it is an underappreciated film. I think it is what it is, which is a horror comedy, political satire about Independence Day. It is a slasher film as well, and it's. I've got a pretty good bit of good stuff to say about it, though I will say it is a guilty pleasure and a good bad movie is what I consider it to be.
I think because I actually saw this when it originally came out, so I had a lot of thoughts on it when it originally came out, and I knew who William Lustig was in a lot of his films that he had done at the time. But this one here was, because it was written by Larry Cohen, it is just like most of Larry Cohen's other movies, where he always puts a little bit of satire in his horror films and a little bit of political commentary in his horror films. He's done that in most all of his films, which is which is, but I know at the time this came out, or at least my impressions of the time when it came out, is that every horror director or filmmaker was trying to find a new thing, a gimmick to hinge their films on in the late 90s. And making a horror film about an Uncle Sam serial killer was a novel ideal. I don't think that had ever been done before then. If it had been, I surely still have not seen that movie.
Yeah, well, and what's cool about it is there's not like a lot of horror films that take place on Independence Day. No. And it really captures Independence Day, the flavor of it during the course of the film. A recent film, I think that did it, not Independence Day, but they did for the holiday, very similar to this, but better, was Thanksgiving. They really captured the Thanksgiving parade and basically the gatherings of Thanksgiving and the mall shopping. But this happened before that, but it has the kind of similar thing where you get to see the Independence Day gatherings, like the big town, like everybody's celebrating in town, and it's fairly well decorated as far as like they do a good job of keeping the decorations in the frames throughout the film.
No, that I will agree with because this in '96 is a very topical film, especially considering that the opening is essentially takes place in Kuwait, and the main killer, which is his name is I can't remember his
Uncle
name.
Sam something is
Sam Harper. Sam
Harper. Yeah.
So I don't know why I couldn't remember it because it's such a normal American name. So Sam Harper is a decorated helicopter pilot who gets shot down due to friendly fire.
Yeah,
was a big thing back then, and it all happens in Kuwait.
Yeah, this during the Gulf War is when that takes place. So that was the war that was going on at the time.
So what happens is he gets shot down, and before he dies, I guess the other military personnel who comes there is probably someone who would have covered this friendly fire up because it happens in war. And Sam kind of wakes up for a few moments and kills the military guy and everyone else around him before actually dying. And then of course his body is flown back home, and he's essentially being decorated and buried right around the exact same time as the 4th of July is happening. Now, I don't really know how much time has passed between when he actually dies and when all this...
It says, I think it's like around the middle of June when that happens.
Okay. And I always wondered because, essentially when we see his body, it looks burned up. It looks kind of been there, it's
right, yeah.
sitting for a while type of thing. So I wasn't 100% sure.
And some of that reminds me a lot of William Lustig's other films, Maniac Cop. It looks a lot like the charred Maniac Cop that it looks.
Yeah.
It's almost like maybe a bit of a homage to it.
Mm. Well, it reminded. I should have looked that up. The movie this movie reminds me of. It is. Oh man, I can't think of the stupid title. But it was
there's a few details I might be able to figure it out.
I think it's Death Dream, the one about the soldier who comes back, and the parents wish that he comes back to life, and he does. And then, of course, he ends up starting to kill people. And the thing is, I've only ever seen it once, and
it's not The Prowler, is it?
No.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that one, but that's a slasher with a military sort of thing going on there.
Yeah, I guarantee you, while we're talking about this, it's going to come to me. But the idea of a soldier coming back to life, and then he is essentially killing people who kind of deface the ideal of America and Independence Day and all that type of stuff, which is an ideal hook because it allows Larry Cohen, who wrote this, to kind of add in stuff from other people's perspectives and other. So it's a very political film, which fits right into Larry Cohen's wheelhouse.
Which I don't know. What I think is like hilarious about it is the character himself. The killer is very flawed. He's like a vicious killer. Even before this, there's like mentioned he has a young. The main character is a young kid who idolizes his uncle Frank. But within the film, there's conversations with other people where he starts to discover that his uncle was really like a very almost a psychotic guy. He actually wanted to go to war to kill people. So it's pretty hilarious that he is that type of person. It has something to say about, I think, just war in general and the mindset behind war and kind of flipping it on its head. At the same time, he is taking out people who are doing unpatriotic things or disrespecting the July 4th holiday.
Yeah, well, it really comes to the idea of Joe. I think his name is Jody, the little kid, Jody, who's grown up with the ideal that Sam is this great patriotic person that he can emulate and grow up to be later in his own life. But what happens is slowly through the movie, people start to tell Jody that it's not exactly this idealized worldview that you've been imparted with, because Sam was abusive and of course he was sadistic in the way that he wanted to kill people. He learns that from his mother. He also learns that from Sam's sister, and then he learns that from Jed, played by Isaac Hayes, which I forgot was in this movie.
Yeah, he's got a really big part in the film too.
Yeah, he doesn't have like a small little cameo like a lot of the times that he's being given.
It's a pretty decent part, and he does a really good job with this.
I think Robert Forster has more of a cameo in this film than I would have expected.
Yeah. It also has Timothy Bottoms in it. If you're familiar with him from the Last Picture Show, and it's surprising how small of a part he has. He has about 3 scenes or something like that. But even like Robert Forster has a similar amount. There's a lot. Even was it Bo Hopkins, who's also a pretty well-known character actor. They all have about 3 or 4 scenes that are usually pretty good scenes, but they're very light and they get killed pretty quick a lot of times.
Yeah, I get the impression because a lot of these people have worked with William Lustig before in other films, and I get the impression that they're almost, some of them are doing like favors for someone they like to work with, because like this movie's literally with character actors like that. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Robert Forster was in here. Oh yeah, I forgot Timothy Bottoms was in here. I was like, oh shit. Because I had seen this movie in '96, so almost 30 years. I saw it when it came out, and I haven't actually gone back to rewatch it since then.
Right, it's he does a good job with like especially the supporting actor casting. I was listening to a little bit of the commentary, and he said that with the Isaac Hayes casting, he was originally wanting to cast the actor to play Billy Jack. You ever see Billy Jack?
Yeah, a long time ago. Wow.
Yeah, it's like Tom Laughlin or something like that. But it's a pretty hilarious film actually. But he wanted to cast him, but they couldn't find he didn't have an agent. He kind of wasn't SAG anymore, so they couldn't find him. Then he saw Isaac Hayes. They were looking through a book of possible people with this agent, and he's like, I hadn't thought about him, but I've always been a fan of Isaac Hayes. I think he'd kill this thing. He said he was awesome to work with.
Oh, I bet Isaac Hayes was a hell of a lot of fun to work with. I can go off on little tangents on how much I admire Isaac Hayes as just a musician.
Yeah.
So it's always fun for me to watch some musicians play these odd characters or be in movies like this. Because Isaac Hayes has played in several random movies, in my opinion, and it's always hilarious what he does in the movies, what people allow him to do, because he's Isaac Hayes.
As far as the family dynamic, I do want to retouch on that, but so it's a little confusing. There's the kid and the mom. His mom is the Uncle Sam's sister. The other lady isn't related to him at all. She is Uncle Sam's ex-wife or wife that he's gone off to war, and she's like thinking that he's dead now, and she's already dating this other douchebag cop. And it's a little confusing because the actresses look alike. The two actresses, almost like they're supposed to be sisters or something, but they're not. They're actually not related. There's some implications in the dialogue that Frank was abusive to his sister. It even lends, maybe it was a sexual thing with her as well. It doesn't say that explicitly.
No, not explicitly.
It is to indicate a little bit. Maybe that has to do with the way he picked a wife that looked a lot like his sister, which would make sense.
Oh. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to put.
Yeah, he's a pretty mental guy, and he's also got a very odd sense of honor in a way. He's kind of got his the way he wants. He mistreats women in his life, but then he goes off and he thinks he's a hero, but then he wants to punish people who he thinks are doing things the wrong way. He's got an odd sense of the way he thinks the world should be.
Yeah. Which actually works well with the ideals that they're playing with regarding when I look at Sam, I kind of look at what could happen when soldiers have PTSD. And so, soldiers come back from war and they're completely different than when they left for war. So despite
it's not the case though with Sam. I see where you're going with that, but go. I'll let you finish. Sorry, go ahead.
well, yeah, it's not so much the case because in this film they want to make him out to be a very bad guy before he went to war, and not so much war made him into a bad guy. And there's some parallels with that in my opinion, because shit. I'm trying to figure out the best way to describe it because it's one of the things I was noticing about the film when I rewatched it. It's because, and it could have been the time period in which it came out too, 96 or the 90s. But I think they were trying to make him be really despicable before he went to war, and not so much saying that war made him despicable. But then you have the one military guy who comes in to tell her that he's dead.
Right. It's a Bo Hopkins character.
Bo Hopkins, thank you.
Yeah.
And
Sergeant
something. I can't remember.
Yeah, something or other.
But he's not like he has ulterior motives himself. Yeah, so despite the fact that you have Sam who's trying to be really patriotic about Independence Day, regardless of what his past was like, because he's more or less offing people who are defacing what it means to be patriotic. So when you look at it, he could be a good soldier, just a bad husband, a good soldier, but it's one of those things where, you're kind of thinking, well, he's a little extremist there. But, I mean, when you're doing a satire, Larry Cohen does this a lot in his movies. He works with these extremes, trying to make a blatant point instead of being subtle with it.
What's interesting though is Isaac Hayes has a conversation with the kid. The kid is idolizing him, the uncle, and he has a conversation with him out on the porch there's like a wake at the house. They actually bring the casket in with Uncle Sam and put it into their house, which I guess is something they do. They say in the Midwest, and it stays in the house for a few days. Or they have a wake or whatnot. But he has it's a really good scene between Isaac Hayes and the kid out in the front porch, and Isaac Hayes tries to talk to him about his uncle and how he's not the person. He actually said that he at the time he was in a war himself, in an earlier war, and he lost his leg. But he told him war stories and he encouraged him to be part of the war. But then he found out later when they went hunting that he was more of a sadistic person and he really enjoyed killing animals, and he kind of got a little too into it, enjoyed killing them too much. So, and he's trying to talk him out of. He's trying to explain to him that the uncle's not who he thinks that he was, and also trying to discourage him from getting caught in wanting to be in the military and lose a leg or get killed like his uncle did.
Yeah. Which is actually one of the better scenes in the whole film, is that because that scene helps kind of sum up everything, and it gives a point in Jody's perspective when he starts to see things in a different light, so to speak. Because he's been, like you said, been idolizing his uncle for so long that that's all he ever says.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember the line he says. Oh God, I wish I could remember the line. There was a line in the movie where Jody's talking back about the way that the boyfriend is responding to everything early on before the boyfriend's actually killed.
So yeah, you're talking about this. So this is his mom's boyfriend, who isn't as much of a douche as the cop who's with the ex-wife.
Yes,
and he comes in and he's kind of just some pretty good friction. That's a pretty good scene too when they're around the table trying to eat, and they're arguing. He's got a different perspective on war than even like the Uncle Frank or the kid Jody has, and they disagree on it.
Well, I think that's what two things adds for a political satire. It adds those conflicts and those issues it brings up everything. This is why I say Larry Cohen is not exactly subtle with what he does. But then it also gives Sam a reason to go after these people, especially Robert Forster's character, who has one of the most showy death scenes in the film.
Yeah, he's a congressman. Robert Forster's character. He kind of shows up about halfway through. But yeah, I think it's like some of the deaths in this are pretty cool too. But as far as they do a pretty good job of connecting these deaths to like a 4th of July.
Yeah.
And so when he first comes to life, he doesn't come out of the coffin until the 4th of July, and basically early in the morning, I think after midnight on the 4th of July. And when he first comes out, he puts on his military uniform and goes out, and he looks like Maniac Cop in a uniform. It's the actor is playing him. His name's David Freilich, I think, but he's predominantly a stunt man for the most part, but he does a really good job as far as the way that he looks playing the character.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. Then after that, then he gets the costume. He's in the Uncle Sam costume for most of the film, but there's this really odd scene where like someone who's supposed to be in the parade the next day is on these stilts, and he's like peeping. The only nudity in the whole film, there's a girl in there getting undressed, and you see her butt or whatnot, but you don't see much. But he's like peeking in the window, checking it out, and then he kills that guy, takes his suit, cuts it.
Well, that's one of the funniest, a really funny scene in the movie that seems out of place, because how does a guy on stilts really think that he can get away with what he's doing? He's essentially peeping in a neighbor's house, but when he gets caught, he tries to run away in stilts.
Yeah, how is he going to get off of the stilts to begin with? Is the question. how do you get off the damn things? You know.
You have to have an assistant to get you into the stilts, and out of the stilts, you would assume is an assistant as well. But it's just so hilarious because it's the most outrageous scene there is. We just start off with this guy peeping inside of a window, looking at the naked girl, and all of a sudden you see him outside, and he's on stilts peeping into the window.
Yeah. Yeah. The first time I saw it, because I knew that he was going to be dressed up like Uncle Sam. When I first saw it, I thought that was him dressed up, because it was such an odd scene. You see the girl undressed, and then it pans to the window, and then there he is, and it's like, well, he already got the costume. Where did he even get it from?
No, but you know what? I do like the costume in this. I do think it's a really. I don't know if there was a whole bunch of choices between Uncle Sam costumes or not, but I think this one works really well, and I'm glad that he wears it for most of the entire film instead of looking like Maniac Cop. I don't think I'm gonna stop seeing that now. I don't think I'm gonna stop seeing Maniac Cop in this. But thankfully, when they reveal him at the end without the costume, it's actually really good makeup, and so he looks pretty damn good. But he's in the costume for most of the entire film until the very end, and I think it's very effective. Uncle Sam costume. I thought it was I don't know where he got the dance.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was great. I thought it gave it a really good flavor too. And he's able to blend in. He go to the parade and the gatherings, walk around, and most of the time people don't notice him.
Nope.
You know, even if you look really close, you see he's all got yellow eyes and charred skin, but you have to look real close. Apparently,
no, it's okay. You know, we're used to seeing that in slasher films. I mean, you mentioned Thanksgiving, and that's a great example of another type of similar style film there. With even more extreme gore in that one.
Yeah.
I think in this film when it came out in the 90s, it was more for fun. But you know,
well, you know, it's like I was thinking that too. Sometimes to me, it's almost like there's definitely opportunities here to get really ridiculous with the gore. And for some reason, I was okay with it not getting ridiculous, because the first time there's an opportunity to do it good is when he takes the costume from the guy. And the way he kills that guy, he takes some shears and because he cuts the costume up so it fit his legs, and then he goes to cut the guy. He pretty much cuts the guy's head off with the shears, but it doesn't show anything. Mm-hmm. But he could have really done it up there, and they choose not to. And I was actually kind of okay with it at the time.
And then I'm trying to remember who was.
So then, there's these prick three idiots in the in the cemetery, like burning a flag or some shit, you know?
Yeah, like they are, but they're right near where his grave is, I believe, and so obviously they got to get gone because they're burning the flag, and they're like. And they're really going at
Yeah.
Brendan Fleck too.
Yeah, they were completely not giving a shit that anybody would catch him or not. I
Like,
almost feel like they were doing it on purpose, right over his grave there, on purpose, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah, but they I guess Uncle Sam has a lot of fun dispatching those three people.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I really do think that you have to have your tongue firmly in cheek when you're watching this film because, like other William Lustig film, like Maniac Cop, I mean, that's another movie where you kind of where like it's a cop who's killing other bad people, but he originally was more or less innocent but extreme. Like he's violent, and then he gets killed himself when he gets thrown into prison, and then he's still killing people. This guy is very similar. He's kind of a little sadistic, worked for the government, and he did his job, and then of course he died of friendly fire. So I think some of those themes can kind of come up again and again. And they actually make for, if you were to actually look at all William Lustig's films, you could probably see kind of a parallel pattern for them because Larry Cohen and him probably worked on, I don't know whether films, if they worked on any other films.
yeah. Several of the Maniac Cop films, for sure.
I'm trying to think of the other ones because I know because Larry Cohen used to sell a lot of scripts back in the day. Yeah. For some reason, there's so many films that he's just randomly has written, which is kind of interesting in and of itself.
Yeah, he did like I don't know if Larry Cohen wrote it, but Lustig did Maniac and also Vigilante.
Oh yeah, Vigilante.
Vigilante. Yeah. He's probably written by Larry Cohen too, more than likely. That one stars Robert Forster.
Yeah, no, that's where I immediately came from because I recently just saw that one a couple years ago because I finally found a copy of it. I was like, because Blue Underground did the copy I have.
Yeah, I got it too. I thought it was pretty solid.
I was like, finally I can see this damn movie because I couldn't find it any damn where. And that's the problem with these films, like this one, Uncle Sam. You don't hear these films talked about much. Vigilante, Maniac Cop, maybe one of William Lustig's more well-known films. Not only because it has Bruce Campbell in it, but it's also a really solid movie. But like I would like to know what people thought about this movie, but in all good honesty, until we decided to do this for the podcast, I haven't heard no one who actually has talked about this film, which is kind of sad. Especially in this day and age, but so many people are saying horror films don't have any don't have any type of contemporary political ideology in them. And I'm going back and I'm thinking, well, Larry Cohen did this shit for fucking years.
Yeah.
I
mean, to me, it's like this film. If you were to take out the Gulf War aspect of it, it could work with the stuff going on now just as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any different, really. So.
No, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking you could definitely do a modern day version of this film and talk about whatever freaking conflict is going on right now, especially with the ideal of our government using our military within our own borders now. It would be so topical and still make it relevant if you had Uncle Sam Killer killing people on Independence Day and all the different factions of what it means to different people. I don't know who we'd go after and kill him exactly. Who is right and who is wrong, this one, it's a little bit more clear cut. It simply is people who deface, the patriotism and the government got to go. But
I think that's kind of like a little, some of it makes it a little off-putting because of like so many of the characters or have to be written in an unlikable way for it kind of to be okay for them to get killed off. But there are a few exceptions, especially Timothy Bottom's character, who's a teacher, who he's having a conversation with the students about war and having a bit of a disagreement, but it's not like an aggressive disagreement. He just doesn't agree with it.
Yeah.
And he's trying to have a conversation, and that's what gets him killed. But you got a few characters like him that are more likable because they don't make them. but most of them they make out to be complete shit. So when like Robert Forster's character and Will Hobson's character, they just like completely unlikable.
Yeah, and the cop who was trying to make the moves on his girlfriend, so to speak,
or his wife is his wife. I think.
You're right. They do make some of these guys a little bit sleazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
So that when they die, you're not feeling too bad about them. I think Timothy Bottoms is probably the one character you kind of like.
Yeah, it was kind of like low, like it was like he's a likable actor anyway, but his sequence when he's talking to the kids in the classroom, to me, you kind of more, it was more of a conversation, and that's the sort of thing you want to have, is a conversation. But I guess the way that it was maybe intended to be presented was he was pushing an agenda on the kids about anti-war agenda, and that was probably the intention of that. But he comes off likable, and as he's trying to just have a conversation about it, not necessarily push that idea on the kids.
That's interesting because I you know what, you might be closer to the truth on that one. I think you're right, mostly because I think that Timothy Bottoms he probably played it more likable than he was probably supposed to.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. When you think about it, because Jody, the boy, has this extreme reaction to the whole conversation to begin with. And I think he has to have that extreme reaction because he's like 125% the patriotic child. Like, it's an idea. It's an image that is an ideal that would be great for a young kid if they could decide that they also need to be able to be open-minded to other people's opinions and thoughts without being an extremist, like his uncle eventually is portrayed as.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting concept. The whole Uncle Sam concept may not have been as executed as neatly as could have been, but also it's one hell of an entertaining movie nevertheless.
Right.
And I wonder, as a filmmaker back in the 90s, trying to juggle between having a film that's entertaining and engaging versus also making a political statement or a commentary on something, and which battle that filmmaker ended up winning. Because I think for me, this was very like right on the nose with everything he was trying to say, which, like if you watch Get Out, it may be a little bit more subtle, not as extreme. So I don't know. What do you think is more? I mean, I don't know. I don't know which one's more effective, and which one.
Clearly, Get Out's going to win that, but I don't. I think there's a deeper message in this film than what most people expect from it, and I think it's embedded into the film pretty good, and it goes through this journey that the Jody character takes from the beginning of the film to the end. Now, I'm not entirely sure what exactly they're trying to say. I do think that it is an anti-war film, and I do believe that, and but at the same time, it's just because of it seems the way the end scene. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure exactly that look on his face. I'm not sure what exactly that means, But at the same time, you do have a nature versus nurture thing here, where you have him growing up with a caring mother, but he does have this nature in his bloodline of this psychotic uncle that may be in his blood to begin with, and it may be unavoidable going in that route. But he doesn't seem to have that aspect in his character. It's never really shown in the film, but it's something that could like a kind of a Dexter like serial killer sort of idea. But it's not really. He does appear to be a good kid and a good character. He doesn't seem to have the psychotic tendencies that his uncle has, even though he does seem like he could go in that direction.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is that it just dawned on me the interesting thing about this film is that it's actually told from the perspective of the little kid to begin with. And of course, he ends up befriending the other little kid who with the disability at the end of the film, or the
Yeah.
third act, really. Uh,
Kid shows up at the when it first comes about halfway through at the
yeah, I
Independence
can't
Day.
remember his name though. I didn't write that character's name down. Say it back.
But that kid was injured during the Fourth of July celebration the year before. Apparently, some other those assholes like tied him up and shot him off with fireworks or something like that. It's never quite explained. It's implied.
Yeah,
And the mayor actually makes a comment about it was hopeful no accidents like what happened last
year.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and of course he goes off and gets himself lit up with a bunch of fireworks.
yeah, well, not that guy. The mayor actually survives, but
oh yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Because that's Robert Forster.
Robert Forster's character is
He's
congressman. The kid's name's Barry.
Barry.
His mom is played by PJ Souls, who was in Halloween and Rock and Roll High School,
which I forgot about until I read you might as well say credits. It just say PJ Souls is in this.
Yeah, she's unrecognizable. Really, I had to figure out who she was in it. Really, but she's pretty hilarious. And the husband, the guy that plays her husband, they're both hilarious. They come into the thing with the kid on the wheelchair, and they're just like, I hope everyone's gonna be ashamed of what they did last year. You know.
Yeah, and God, but it's good that his character's in there because that kind of. When you have the entire film told by Jodie's perspective, it's good to have another kid's perspective in there as well.
Yeah.
And so he's actually he's also telling Jodie all the right things that are going on. It's kind of like a conscious type of character in there.
He's got a scarring from that firecracker accident. I'm not sure if he's in the wheelchair because of that or if he just has the scars because of that. It's unclear.
Yeah, it's unclear.
But he's sitting there, and this is another hilarious thing. His parents are so ridiculous. They like leave him sitting there in the hot ass sun, and then they go to the both of them go to get food. And then while that's happening, Uncle Sam comes up to him. He's in costume. And he puts his gloved hand on him and rubs his face and starts whispering to him like weird stuff because he identifies with him. He's like, you were like burned up too, just like me. So he identifies with me. He thinks that kid has like a dark heart like he does. But
oh my God. And we're laughing because some of this stuff is actually quite humorous. If you watch any William Lustig or Larry Cohen films, there's always like I said, a bit tongue in cheek humor to these films because it is a serial killer who's returned from the dead, killing people in the Uncle Sam costume.
Yeah. And most of it happens in broad daylight during this event that's going on.
That's right. Yeah.
He kills. There's like this one shithead teenager. He goes up to sing the national anthem and he starts belting it and going off key on purpose. And then he's such an asshole. Then they're doing like they all kick him out when halfway through singing, and then then they're doing like a potato sack race and he starts like knocking people over. And somehow he jumps off course and accidentally rolls down the hill, and then Uncle Sam gets him and cuts his head off. Which I thought that guy, that of all the people who needed to die, that was the guy who needed to die the most.
Yeah, well, I forgot about that whole sack race thing. Oh my God,
it doesn't make sense that he falls off the course. I mean, I don't know what that was about, but it's hilarious that he's such a shit. He's like knocking people over and like real violently.
Well, he got his comeuppance eventually, and then of course because I want to get to when they unveil Uncle Sam and Sam Harper without the Uncle Sam costume on, and the physical effects that are done to him. When how do you think those worked for an audience? Do you think it should have been more of Uncle Sam the whole time, like a Michael Myers thing, or do you think that it was effective to take off the mask? Because that doesn't happen a lot in these slasher
Yeah.
movies. They usually keep the mask the entire time unless there's a big reveal. Oh, this is blah blah blah, like in Scream. But we all know who Sam is from the
Right.
very beginning. You know.
He I think it works because he still has the Uncle Sam costume on, so he still looks like Uncle Sam. He doesn't look like Maniac Cop like he does earlier, and he got the face and all that, but it looks really cool with Uncle Sam costume on and this like burnt to a crisp face,
Yeah, yeah. And
like a burnt hot dog or something, you know.
oh, Jesus. I was gonna say burnt hot dog, but yeah, he definitely looks like he burnt to a crisp. Which is, and he talks really with that nasally voice. So
Yeah, I'm not sold on the voice. It's like more of a whispery voice. I'm not really sold on that. I think it needed to be a little more guttural. I think, and more menacing. But he does look he looks menacing, but his voice to me is too whispery.
whispery.
I think, but some people you may think differently when you saw it. I just thought it was a little. I wanted it to be a stronger voice for some reason. You know.
Stuntman does a great job until we get to his reveal, and he doesn't have a good enough voice.
I don't think the voice sucked. I'm not saying it sucked. Some people may think it's effective because he kind of talks like this.
Yeah,
He's like, "I'm Uncle Sam," and you can tell maybe his vocal cords are messed up from being burnt or something. I don't know.
well, it'd be good if go back and rewatch it if that's how he talked when he was in the helicopter in the very first scene. Right.
He does say he goes friendly fire during the first scene.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he does kind of talk like that, but he briefly talks. You know.
No, he like says like a line or two, and then dies.
Yeah. That's what he says. He says friendly fire, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Do you think the whispering works, or were you taken out by
See,
it?
see when I go back and watch these movies like this one, that I used to like throw away slasher movies from like the late '80s and throughout most of the '90s. I never kind of went back and rewatched a whole lot of them.
Right.
So many of them, and so many of them were not good in my opinions. And so what happens is I was like, and most of them didn't become icons. Like there weren't sequels upon sequels upon sequels like our horror icons like Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, or Leatherface. So I kind of wonder if taking off the mask hindered them from ever doing a Uncle Sam 2, or if it would have would have been better to have kept the character in the mask. With Scream, they always they just had new killers in every movie, anyways. I think the first Scream was 99 or 98. It was right before the 2000s, I believe.
I don't know if this one actually had a theatrical run. I think it was direct to.
I want to say it probably had a direct. That's unfortunate for William Lustig's later films. A lot of them were just direct to. I was about to say streaming, but they weren't streaming back then.
Yeah.
Direct to video. We don't have video anymore, so I had to remember that.
For what it is, though, it has a pretty good budget. Or I don't know if the budget's good, but however he handled the production of it, it looks like it has a solid budget. I think it looks really good, especially if you watch it on 4K like I watched it, and it looks really solid as far as the look of it.
Oh yeah, the 4K version of it, huh?
Yeah. It's Blue Underground did it as well. I think they've done most of his films except for the first Maniac Cop. I don't think they own that one, but they've done the other Maniac Cop films.
No, because I forget who did my Maniac Cop. It's not Blue Underground. I think
it's Synapse is the original Maniac Cop. I think Synapse Films has that one.
Yeah, my DVD of Uncle Sam is like the original DVD that was released. Probably. I can't even remember now when I bought the DVD, to be honest with you. But I have I have most of not Larry Cohen. I have most of William Lustig's films in my collection, so that's why I have it. Like I told earlier, I was so happy to get the Blue Underground version of Vigilante because I couldn't find that one.
Yeah.
I'm a Lustig fan, so
yeah. You actually, upon watching this film more times, I've actually started to like it more. I could see why it was maybe a little disappointing upon the first watch, maybe, but it does really capture, I think, more than any other horror film, it's the Fourth of July celebration in that area. I think the film Independence Day is to go to for Independence Day. You know, the one with Will Smith in it and stuff. But this film does capture the July 4th celebration pretty good.
Yeah, so we're talking about that now, and there are very few legitimate horror films that cater towards the 4th of July holidays. Now, there are some films out there that take place on or around 4th of July, but this one actually takes a lot of its themes based around being patriotic and patriotism and all that, which is rare. I know we've discussed another film, or the other film that we're releasing, which is our episode on frogs. And 4th of July is a background element to that, because that's essentially when the character's birthday is, and they're just doing a whole bunch of celebrations on the 4th of July. But the ideals behind the 4th of July really don't play much into the story aspect. It's, like
right. In this, I mean, they embrace it. They completely embrace it.
Yeah.
And this one can be called a 4th of July film, where, say, something like Frogs or I Know What You Did Last Summer, they touch on those holidays, but they don't embrace the holiday into their themes. Yeah. Even like a lot of times they have some decorations, but this one's decorated out. Like they really had to put a lot of thought into the set deck and things of that nature throughout the film. Even like you say, even the idea of having the coffin with the American flag on it in the living room of this house, that in itself is a decoration.
Yeah. And I actually wish there were more films like this. Unfortunately, the holidays that get used the most in horror films is Christmas and Halloween. And now we have a really good Thanksgiving one. Yeah. And we have a lot of really bad Easter ones. We all do. There's tons of bad Easter ones. Killer Easter bunnies. I don't know why that's a thing.
Right. But Christmas and Halloween are going to be the ones that more people are going to be thinking about watching a film during those times where a lot of times on 4th of July people are celebrating or hanging out or doing stuff more. Yeah. Christmas and Halloween lasts like a whole season, where the 4th of July is like a weekend. It's like a long weekend.
Well, you're right. 4th of July weekend. If it falls on the weekend, you are absolutely correct. Heaven forbid if it falls on the fucking Wednesday.
Yeah. But at the most you're going to get a week out of that, So, but you have a lot of viewing opportunities with Christmas and Halloween.
Yeah. And
I start celebrating Halloween like 2 or 3 months early myself.
I think all self-proclaimed horror fans do.
Yeah. And then like a week later after Halloween, I start celebrating Christmas, and then I take a break for Thanksgiving and then go back to Christmas.
Oh, Jesus. That's the life of us horror fans, I guess. Do you have anything else to say about Uncle Sam?
But this thing, I'm going to go over a few more of these kills just because they're fun.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So here's the first guy he kills, like in the cemetery, is the first guy he buries alive in the grave, and then the next guy he hangs him from the flagpole, which is very 4th of July thing to do.
I almost forgot about that one. That's actually a really good one. It would be cool if he had hung him at half mast.
Yeah. And then the next scene after that, they're actually pulling up a real flag. And then Timothy Bottom's character gets killed with the hatchet that George Washington was supposed to have in the parade. And this is a character who is the boyfriend of Jodi's mom, who was set up to be to me it seems like he's set up to be a bigger character, but he dresses up like Abe Lincoln during the celebration. And it happens off screen, but then they come over to talk to him, and he's been shot in the head, like Abraham Lincoln was. That's the whole point of that whole part. But it is a little disappointing that character didn't get a better death than that. I mean, what'd you think about that?
I agree with you on that one. When I watched the movie again, I was like, it was a missed opportunity, or they just wanted to show the reaction of the girlfriend when she finds his body and he just tumbles off of the float. I think that probably, I don't know which would have worked better, To be honest with you, me as a horror fan would have loved to have seen him get killed.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the way that he's killed because he's shot in the head, and that was the whole point because he's dressed like Abraham
Yeah.
Lincoln, and then he felt like they had to shoot him in the head, so they couldn't really have been that effective to see it.
You know what? It would have been out of character for Uncle Sam for us to see him use a gun. And
You're right. Yeah.
It would have been out of character.
The next one was the meat cleaver to the head, but the cook this is a cool scene. She's like cutting up the barbecue things, and then she's smoking pot. And then he goes and takes her cleaver. He goes and chops off the guy's head, and he takes his head and puts it in the grill. And she opens the grill, and then he shoves her into it. I don't know. I guess he kills her because she's smoking pot. That's not cool, but I don't know.
At the time, that probably wasn't cool in the late 90s.
Yeah.
But the whole thing about barbecuing is a great 4th of July thing that we all do. So
yeah. So, and then two other ones. There's Robert Forster's character who's killed with fireworks, which fits in very nicely. And then the last one who's killed is the douchebag boyfriend of the sister, and he has the flag through the chest, which is it's almost like the character breaking his own rules. But I mean, you disrespecting the American flag by putting it through this guy's chest and getting blood all over it. That can't be considered a good thing.
As long as he doesn't let the flag hit the ground as he's down, he's fine. But it's funny because, I forget why he starts to tumble. He's tumbling.
Yeah, well, the fireworks is going off. Like Robert.
Oh, that's right. He gets fireworks, boom, he falls backwards.
Yeah.
And he tumbles, and he goes right to the flagpole.
Then, so what do you? Is there anything you think they missed for 4th of July, or I think they got them all with those kills?
Well, to be honest with you, I never thought about any rules to 4th of July.
Well, I guess if you think about 4th of July, with Christmas, you got like a Christmas tree, you got Santa Claus, and I think they got everything in there that I could think of for 4th of July.
As long as you got the fireworks, you got everything in mind.
Yeah. They got the decorations,
you have the flagpole, and you have the fireworks, and you have the barbecue. Those are the number one things, dude.
Yeah, I think they got it.
Oh, Jesus. All right. So any other words about this after we now just revealed all the kills to everybody?
I mean, as far as like bringing about after the last kill, the last maybe 20 minutes of it deal with the main character and Isaac Hayes' character dealing with the uncle.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about Isaac Hayes' character and how they deal with his character?
So, with Isaac Hayes' character, I think it's important to have someone who was in the military, who was affected by that, and was at first the inspiration for Sam, even though he then kind of like he regrets telling Sam all those war stories that pushed him into being that wanted to go into the military, and that was before he realized how sadistic Sam was. So he regrets telling them these war stories, but as someone in the military, the war stories are the thing that you talk about all the time. And you're proud of them no matter what happened. So he regrets some of that stuff, and it's very interesting. And that's why I like his character in this movie more so than most any other movie he's done, is that you see it like he's a very complex character that he's portraying. And it's a character that shows to Jody the good things and the bad things about military service, not about being part of the military itself, but being military service. There are some good things, and there's also some bad things. And if you go in with the wrong mindset, you end up like your uncle, which is not a good thing. It's like he points that out. That's not a good thing.
He's ultimately the hero of the film too, because he's the one that kills again the Uncle Sam with the cannon. And that's another 4th of July thing, the cannon.
I guess it is.
Yeah,
I don't think we do that much anymore, though.
Right? Yeah. But it's William Lustig often has the villains of his films get caught on fire. He really likes having people caught on fire, and it happens in this one. And they're always, especially Maniac Cop 3, for instance, he's on fire for like a really long time. it seems like he really wants to push the envelope on how long somebody can be on fire for. But he blows him up with a fireball, and then he keeps coming. He's still on fire. But it's a cool sequence, though.
It is a good way to end with a bang by having a cannon blow up Sam, and of course Sam is still walking around on fire before he ultimately passes. Because I don't know of any other movie where they kind of ended by killing the main guy with a cannon. That is I think this film will have that claim forever. I don't think there's many people that will use a cannon to kill off somebody. And he purposely goes out to go get the cannon.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous that happens. That's the thing, because the kid's like, go get the cannon or whatever. I'll distract him. And what the conversation between the kid and Uncle Frank would maybe take a minute. Hey, think about how long it take to drive down the road, hook a cannon up to a hitch, drive back, set it up, and then it's like, but I don't know. It's a movie, so let it get away.
Oh Jesus!
That whole sequence though, and then they blow up the friggin' house with the cannon. The whole house is on fire. I mean, that's a cool sequence,
Yeah. Well, now that I think about it, you are absolutely right. They spared no expense on this movie. To be honest with you, there's a lot of great deaths in there, except for the one character we don't see. That's there's always got to be that one. But having a cannon in here, setting a person on fire for as long as he does, and you're probably right. Probably William Lustig. I just thought about that. Probably love keeping people on fire for some time.
I've seen it in some of his other films, but I think he's very good with production too. Mm-hmm. I think he's very, very good at getting like a small budget and getting people to help him do things. And even though the budget was like 900,000 or something like that, it's kind of low for what looks like on screen. Like, $900,000 is in 1980, was in 1996, but still.
Is that the budget for this?
Yeah, it's not 900,000. Is what it says. So it's under $1 million, but yeah, it looks pretty big though on screen.
I would have thought it would have been much bigger than that.
Yeah, that's what it says on the Wikipedia pages.
Wow, that's interesting. That's what I was about to say, because this is probably on the lower end of the films that we've actually talked about on the show. I would have thought that was way more.
I'm thinking I must have read that wrong. I think it's like 2 million. It says budget 2. I think it's 2 million is what it is. I thought it was 900,000, but still, I was wrong. Son of a bitch. I don't know where I saw that. I must have been looking at another movie earlier that had 900,000 on there. But still, it looks impressive though. I think he was able to take a smaller budget and make it look really, really big.
Oh yeah, it says $2 million.
Yeah.
That's still.
I can't read, man.
That's still cheap. $2 million is still cheap for a movie.
Yeah.
And that's 1996. This isn't like 1976. This is 1996.
Right.
And he's doing this movie for $2 million. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if Leprechaun had more money than he did for this. Jeez. So, all right. So, any other words about Uncle Sam for our special 4th of July celebration?
I'll let you get on with it. I'm sure you want to talk about it some more.
Well, we've talked.
Leprechaun was $8.5 million.
See, that had a theatrical release.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus! All right.
No, wait a minute. I'm not able to read right. That's how much it made. Leprechaun was $900,000. What that? I know I saw that. I wasn't looking at Leprechaun earlier, but I saw that number on something earlier. All right.
I don't know what to believe now, dude. That 900,000 stuck in your brain.
Yeah, but no, it really says that's the budget of Leprechaun.
Oh, Jesus. And that had a theatrical release.
So. Yeah, and that made $8.5 million. But I bet you Leprechaun 2 had a huge budget in comparison to that.
Oh, Jesus. Well, for everyone out there listening, we usually rate the movies from 1 to 5, 1 being bad, 5 being excellent. Where on the spectrum do you find Uncle Sam, Dave?
I'm going to land it at a 3. I think it's a solid comedy slasher with some political undertones, and the more times I see it, the more I like it too.
So I've seen the movie twice now, and originally I would have given it a 2, maybe 2.5, but that's because I've loved his Maniac Cop film so much more than this, and some of his other films so much more than this one. But I'm going to give it a 3 because I guarantee you in '96 I wasn't paying any attention to all of the commentary and how prevalent it is today. Like this would, like I would love to see this movie hit like a cult circuit and get audiences to watch it now, right now in this political climate, and see what the reactions would be, and tell them, yeah, this shit was made 30 years ago, people. Watch this. So I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a 3. I'm being generous with this because I know a lot of people who can't appreciate the types of film William Lustig does, like some of us horror fans can. Just will think of this as just another one of those straight to DVD slasher movies and just dismiss it. But that's the thing that I don't want people to do, and that's what and that's one of our goals on the show is to not let people just dismiss films outright. I know a lot of people probably have dismissed this film. It looks like a standard little slasher film if you watch the trailer, but you watch it and it's not. It's kind of cleverly written in its really satire way.
But I think too, though, it's like there's something to be said about something that's completely like a slasher film and a slasher film, and it's just fun. Now that might take some enjoyment away from watching this because it does have quite a serious side to some of the scenes that may take some people back, especially the scenes between the two ladies and the kid when they try to describe to him how the uncle is and try to change his mind about what he thinks. So I mean, there are some very potent scenes in this that are completely different than you would expect it to be.
Yeah, and they're talking like this to a child too. So it's not like they're trying to convince another adult this. They're actually talking to another child. And, for the most part, these films types of films like this like to keep a child's innocence intact, but they're actually trying to destroy, trying to tear it apart because of the fact that who he idolizes is a kind of sadistic guy.
So it's lucky for the movie that they do it because it's what makes him change his mind and start to go after him because he tricks the uncle. And if he would have sided with the uncle, the movie would have had a different outcome.
Yeah. So, all right. With that, I want to thank you, Dave, for joining us on Conversations in Horror. We're talking about Uncle Sam on this 4th of July. Hopefully, everyone out there will enjoy their fireworks, their festivities in a safe manner, unlike the characters in this film. Please be safe out there as you are enjoying this holiday festivities. We want you to go out there and check out all of our previous episodes on some amazing films and maybe some that are not so amazing, but you'll still enjoy those episodes anyways. Make sure to check out our sister podcast on our Patreon supported page. Conversations in 4Color, which delves deep into comic books, manga, and graphic novels. And then make sure to follow, share, subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast apps, Spotify or YouTube, so you never miss an episode. Regular episodes are every Wednesday at 8 a.m. and special episodes are on Mondays at 8. With that, I want to thank you all for joining us and have a great day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.